All right, let's dive right into this. When you hear the name Cristiano Ronaldo, an image probably flashes in your head immediately, right? We're talking about a literal global icon, a guy whose absolute, unmatched confidence and swagger are recognized literally everywhere on the planet. We're going to look past that carefully crafted superstar image and explore the hidden, deeply painful narrative of his life. Because honestly, to truly understand his greatness, we absolutely have to understand his journey through deep pain. Look, you already know the highlight reel. We're all so incredibly used to seeing it. Endless trophies, unbelievable goal records, millions of adoring fans, and just absolute luxury. We see the famous celebrations, the unshakable confidence, and it is so easy to stop right there and just assume this man's life has been a straight, effortless rocket ride to the top. But this is the divide we really need to cross today. See, the world sees this myth, Ronaldo, as a robotic, untouchable machine. But the truth? The truth is so much heavier. Machines don't cry. People do. And Ronaldo's journey is actually defined by profound loneliness, intense family pain, and crippling criticism. So right behind that incredible machine-like mentality, there is a very, very human story of suffering and survival. Long before the world knew him as CR7, he was just a kid born into a very modest, tough environment in Madeira. His parents separated, his dad struggled heavily with alcohol, and money was incredibly tight. Football was basically his only escape. It was his absolute dream, and he believed it was the one and only way to change his family's life. But chasing that dream, it came with a devastating cost. At just 12 years old, really think about that for a second. At 12, Ronaldo had to make the agonizing choice to leave his home, his mom, his siblings, and literally everything he knew to travel to Lisbon and join Sporting CP's academy. And the reality of that decision? It definitely wasn't an instant success story. When he got to Lisbon, he was just a child, completely and utterly alone. Classmates relentlessly mocked and teased him because of his strong Mediterranean accent. It was overwhelmingly isolating. He actually called his mom, literally begging to go home. But he didn't. He stayed. And that decision to stay, when every fiber of his being wanted to leave, that was his very first major lesson in enduring pain for a dream. As he grew older, Ronaldo became just utterly obsessed with football. He completely convinced himself that he simply had to be the absolute best. But here's the thing. When you demand perfection from yourself, setbacks feel deeply personal. And his greatest setback happened entirely off the pitch. He was just 20 years old, just starting to make a massive name for himself at Manchester United when his father passed away. José Diniz of Aero was only 52. His death was linked to liver disease, brought on by his struggles with alcohol. And this was an incredibly complicated grief for Ronaldo. Their relationship had never really been that normal father-son dynamic he always wished for, and the sudden end to it left a void that just couldn't be filled. The sheer heartbreak of that absence is perfectly captured in his own words. He never got to see the awards and success I eventually achieved. Ronaldo would go on to win Ballon d'Ors, Champions Leagues, and shatter endless records. The kid who spent years trying to become great, he finally did it. Yet the one person from his early life that he desperately wanted to prove himself to just wasn't there to witness it. It's this sad, bitter irony, The pain of that absence doesn't just magically disappear just because millions of other people happen to be cheering for you. Let's move on to section 3. Pressure, hate, and rivalry. Because the pain wasn't just personal anymore, it became incredibly public. As his star power grew, so did the massive target on his back. This really exploded during the 2006 World Cup. In that quarterfinal against England, Ronaldo found himself at the dead center of a massive controversy. After his Manchester United teammate Wayne Rooney got sent off, the cameras caught Ronaldo giving this now famous wink toward the Portuguese bench. Almost overnight, at just 21 years old, mind you, he became the ultimate villain. English fans absolutely hated him, and things with the United supporters got extremely strained. But here is where you really see his mentality shift. He didn't run away. He took all that hate and literally used it as fuel. He went back to Manchester United and exploded with a 42-goal season in 2007-2008, winning the Premier League, the Champions League, and the Ballon d'Or. And then we get to his era at Real Madrid. He'd reached the absolute peak, but then enter the Lionel Messi era. For an entire decade, it was this agonizing psychological loop. Basically, if Messi scored, Ronaldo had to answer. Ronaldo actually admitted later on how painful it was for him to watch Messi win successive Ballon d'Ors. He was terrified he might never climb back to the top spot. Just imagine living with that level of pressure every single day, where reaching the absolute highest echelon of your profession still somehow leaves you feeling like you're losing. That right there is the key to his psychological trap. Being excellent just wasn't enough for him. He had to be the absolute best. And when you set your baseline at the greatest of all time, your massive success essentially turns into a cage. Every single match, every new season, the pressure entirely resets. It is an exhausting way to live. You're constantly carrying the weight of having to prove yourself to the entire world all over again, every single time your boots touch the grass. So, as we enter the twilight of his career, we see a harsh physical reality setting in. His blinding speed, that crazy explosiveness, the sheer physical dominance, it inevitably starts to fade. In 2022, at 37 years old, he was actually benched during the World Cup knockout stages, and we all saw him walking down the tunnel in tears. Then, in Euro 2024, cameras caught him completely breaking down after missing a penalty against Slovenia in extra time. And looking ahead to 2026, there's this agonizing, looming fear that time is eventually going to pull the curtain down on his ultimate dream for good. With every single one of those late career setbacks, the media and the fans kept asking the exact same question. Was Cristiano Ronaldo finished? Even as he transitioned to playing in Saudi Arabia, the spotlight never really dimmed. The pressure to stay decisive at the very highest level remained immense. And we actually saw him breaking down under that incredible weight. Because when millions of people expect you to single-handedly save the day, sometimes you just can't. See, there's a fundamental misunderstanding about his public image, which, let's be honest, can come off as arrogant sometimes. We see him strut around like literally nothing can hurt him. But confidence doesn't mean an absence of pain. It means you've learned to continue despite it. His life isn't just a simple fairy tale of a guy who worked hard and easily found success. No, it's the story of a man who suffered crushing setbacks, crippling loneliness, and agonizing grief, and just completely refused to stop. His resilience is essentially a process. It's agonizing, but it's repeatable. Break, breathe, stand up, keep walking. He takes all that accumulated trauma, whether it's leaving home as a little kid, losing his dad, or dealing with the existential dread of fading youth, and he somehow turns it into pure greatness. Literally every single time something or someone knocked him down, he executed this exact same four-step process. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are the strongest people the ones who simply never break? Or are they the ones who figure out how to put themselves back together? When you look at Cristiano Ronaldo from now on, I really hope you see beyond the perfect machine. I hope you see a beautifully flawed, deeply resilient human being. Someone who felt loss, failure, and immense pressure, but chose to just keep getting back up.